The pair were together in Florida while Schroeder's pregnant wife, Carly, was giving birth to their second child in California. This man was in Florida with Teddi while his wife was giving birth in California. Holy. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Bravo by Gays. I'm your host, Larry. I hope that you guys have had a great week. We have a lot to talk about. I want to touch on the most recent episode of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City because the ladies are literally delivering every single week. Between them and the Housewives of Potomac, they're really keeping everything afloat right now. And I was obsessed with this last episode. It was so good. And then I also want to talk to you guys about some news that's going on. A lot came out over the past couple of days that I want to get into with you guys. So let's get into it. All right, guys. So this last episode of Salt Lake City was crazy. It was so good. So if you remember, it was a to be continued episode because last week it ended with John approaching Lisa saying that Todd told them like if they could not really kind of squash the drama and like get over it and move forward, that they were going to ask John and Lisa to leave. So obviously this episode, they did not leave. It started off with John and Lisa talking about the entire situation. And John really tells Lisa to like speak with Bronwyn alone, away from everybody else so that they don't get involved. Well, Lisa being Lisa, and I love Lisa Barlow so much. I love that she kind of really was just like, not going to do that. They sit down for this lunch with all of the couples. All the women were there. All the men were there. Lisa decides to bring everything up in front of the girls. So you can see that she really just started to kind of talk to Bronwyn one-on-one. But she said something where she was kind of insinuating Whitney lies about her. And Whitney overheard that and interjected into their conversation. And then it became like a way bigger deal. And they kind of lost track of what was actually the initial point of the conversation for Bronwyn and Lisa to talk about everything and move forward. Now, it was wild because all of a sudden it was Lisa and Bronwyn talking, then it was Lisa and Whitney talking, and then they got into it over the situation with Justin. And not for anything, guys, like I'm just so over like the interaction that like happened with Lisa and Justin and John and Whitney and like all of that. Like, thank God they apologized in this episode because I literally I don't want to hear about that anymore. Like, stop like saying someone needs to apologize to somebody. Like I didn't feel as though it needed to be dragged on for episodes as like a problem between the ladies and like they just can't get over it until like Lisa acknowledges something or whatnot. And then there ended up being drama between Lisa and Angie because then Angie's husband Sean got in the mix and saying like, oh, she doesn't lie. Well, didn't she tell everybody that you're a bitch? And then they got into it. So it was like everybody kind of like picking their battles at that moment with Lisa and like saying what they had to say about it. And you gotta love John Barlow. And I love me some John Barlow. And him kind of just being like, listen, like just asking like a direct question, getting the answer and being like, okay, see, the answer is no. So like done, time to move forward. And Bronwyn, like in her confessional was just like, it's not that easy, but like, I wish we could have John Barlow here to resolve all of conflicts this easy. It was just so funny. You got to love him for sticking up for his wife and really trying to just make everything be done and over with. Did it work? No, but I understand like the sentiment behind what he was doing and what he was like really trying to do. So I will say that I did find it very funny that when Lisa and Whitney were going at it, Lisa hit Whitney with like this zinger that I thought was so funny. And I really should be like put on a t-shirt. So Lisa, if you're listening, put this on a t-shirt. She said that Lisa says that her tequila has more proof than what comes out of Whitney, because Lisa had asked her for proof or receipts or whatever. And that like line where she was like, my tequila has more proof than what comes out of you was hilarious. And I literally like, I was like, okay, Lisa. Lisa's good with like the one-liners and like the quick things. Like, I loved it. And I thought that was hilarious. I will say this, and I'm going to get into it a little bit more into like the recap. I think if I were Todd, like the man like doesn't really seem like he even really wants to be there, but he like politely asked John to talk to Lisa about like kind of just making the drama stop. Like it's just a lot. And don't get me wrong, I never want Lisa to stop the drama because I think she's a queen and like obviously it's reality TV. But if I were Todd in his situation, because he looks like he doesn't even want to be there, I would have asked everybody to leave. That would have been hilarious if he would have just like cut everything off at lunch and just said, everyone leave, get out. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Could you imagine how iconic that would have been? I would have loved that. We leave that lunch and then they kind of they take us back to Salt Lake City and they take us to Mary's house, and Mary goes up to talk to her son, and he's in his room with his wife. They're in bed, kind of like amongst this like mess. They just have shit everywhere. And they're eating. Like, I can't. Like, the eating in the bed, like, it's just like, I don't know. I mean, the way that they were eating in the bed, it's just like there were crumbs. It looked like crumbs were falling everywhere. And I feel like that would just be like I wouldn't. Anyway, to each their own. Mary tries having a conversation with him about like, what are you doing this week? And like kind of really just seeing like where he is like in his headspace about like if he has a plan or like what's going on. Like, I don't know, like, you're going to go look for a job, like do something. You spend all this time in your room and you've got nothing going on. Now, these two, I don't know. Now, I've seen a lot of speculation around Mary's son and like how he acts on the show and like all of this stuff. And I don't know, like I don't think there's anything wrong with him. In my opinion, I think that he maybe is just high. Like maybe he's just high all the time. I don't know. But it comes off as like he's too stoned to speak or like to even care. And there was a moment that someone had caught online, and I'm sorry, I forgot the page who said this, but they caught the wife kind of like going for like the vape that was on the bed. And I thought he was going to grab her hand to like hold her hand. But when you like look closer, it's like him trying to like scoot the vape away. I don't think this girl was like about to hit the vape in front of Mary, because I'm pretty sure Mary would like kick her out of the house. But it was actually just funny to see. So that's where I'm at with this. Like, it was just her trying to see where his mindset is, and if he has any type of goals or something like that. Like, instead of just laying in your bedroom all day, every day, like, get up. Like, you've got to be a part of the real world. Like, right now you're just like living off your mother and your wife is living there. And it just seems like you have zero interest in having any type of motivation. I don't know. I would be like, sir, you need to get a job or you can get the fuck out of my house. Like, that's where I'm at this point with like them. Because she's tried to have conversations with him in previous episodes where he really hasn't even like looked at her or like given her the time of day. He just looks so uninterested. And maybe he's just like that because he's nervous about being on camera. Who knows what they're like off camera? Maybe he's like a little bit more open. He is also, yeah, I want to say he's like 19 or 20, I think. I have no idea how old he actually is, but old enough where he should be working and like not asking his mom to cash app him $40 for food. Like, get a job. Like, I also wonder if Robert Sr. was in the home, if he would still be acting like this, or if Robert Sr. would be like more on his ass to do something. Also, like, the wife, like, does she do anything? I don't know. She looked really uncomfortable. She like sat up super straight in that bed like as soon as Mary walked in. I don't know. Something about it's the laziness for me. Like, you guys need to do something. I don't know. You and your wife cannot just live in your mom's house, like off of her giving you guys random money to kind of like do things here and there. I digress. We're leaving Salt Lake City. We go back to Palm Springs, and Todd and Bronwyn are hosting this like Mexican themed lunch. They have a mariachi band, and Todd has a couple friends that are coming over for the lunch as well. Everyone is coming out and talking about how beautiful like the tablescape is and like just the setting overall. Like, oh my God, there's a mariachi band. And it was funny. I don't know if this is funny or just kind of like rude. Like, he could have said it like differently, or maybe just not said it at all and just said that like, this is who they are. Todd got caught talking to his friends, and I don't know, maybe he just didn't realize he had a mic on, but he was talking to his friends like, oh, these two have their own tequila company, and it's mediocre tequila. Like, what? Like, you couldn't just say they have a tequila company and said you got, I mean, I get that your wife is fighting with Lisa, but like, why are you kind of like tearing down their business when Lisa and John don't know who these people are? You could have just introduced them and left the tequila business out of it. I don't know, it just felt a little weird. The way that Todd has been moving this entire, like, I mean, we've only seen him a couple times, but those couple times that we've seen him, the way that he moves is just kind of like, he thinks that he is like the final say in everything, and like what he says goes. And I just don't like that. It comes off like you're a pompous asshole, and like, I don't like it. Like, he could have said it differently. And just the way he's been moving this entire trip so far, thinking that he can just tell people that they can leave if they don't cut the drama. Like, sir, do you know like what you're in the midst of? Your wife is on a reality show. Like, there's bound to be drama. If you wanted to have an anniversary trip without any, then you shouldn't have agreed to film a trip and take all of these people to Palm Springs for 2 days and like do all of these things with them. And just have gone and done something with the two of you guys and maybe your other friends that are not on television. So it is what it is, I guess. So, and I apologize that it was like a Mexican themed dinner. So at this dinner, obviously they're all kind of like chit chatting, and there was a moment between Bronwyn and Todd where Bronwyn gave like a speech in regards to like their anniversary and like all of that. And then once that was completed, in comes Angie K with a bunch of like whiteboards. So they were going to play their version of like the Newlywed game. And it was really funny because she only brought enough whiteboards for the people that were there like on the show, like the couples, and she didn't bring enough for the other people that Bronwyn and Todd had invited for them to play, which, I mean, based on the questions, they probably wouldn't have wanted to play and have their business aired on national television either, but who's to say? It was still fun. Now, what I thought was hilarious was in this moment, there was the second question that Angie K asked, what's your husband's favorite sex position? And again, Lisa Barlow, the queen, comes out with like another funny thing. And she was like, I don't know if this is like a segue into like an after dinner party, but me and John are not interested. Lisa was hilarious. Like, kind of insinuating like it's going to be like a swingers party after the dinner. It was hilarious. And it was funny. They played the Newlywed game, all of this stuff. They asked a couple different questions like, what woman at the table does your wife currently like dislike the most? All these things. So towards the end of that dinner, Lisa and Justin, again, with this freaking drama between Lisa and Justin, Justin finally apologizes for the way that he handled the situation with Lisa at Angie K's house. Lisa apologized for her side of it. So I hope we're done with the Lisa and Justin drama and issue, and we can move past it. If we have to hear about it one more time, I literally might claw my eyes out, but hopefully it's done. There was a little bit more drama with Meredith addressing Angie K's husband, Sean, and something that he had said on a podcast, allegedly saying that Meredith kind of uses Brooks as a pawn to deflect from like problems that like she has had. They agree to disagree. Neither one of them really kind of like agreed with what the other were saying. So what also was like, listen, I love Seth Marks. I really do, guys. Like, I'm sorry. I don't know. John Barlow, Seth Marks, those are my Salt Lake City like daddies. Love them so much. But I thought it was a little cringe when he pulled out the proof and was like, here's your proof, biatch. Like, if you're not really in the joking, I feel like the environment was not like enough for him to be jokingly saying biatch, because Whitney in her confessional said she was about to jump over the table and like beat his ass. I get it. I wish he would have like maybe said it differently, but hopefully I have a feeling this is just going to be brought up again later this season, where the biatch comment is just not going to be like let go, and it's going to cause another form of drama between Meredith and Seth and maybe another couple. But you gotta love Angie K though in this moment, because she was like, let's change the subject. She's like, I love Todd. Todd, let's hear about Gwen reconnecting with her grandparents. And Todd was like, no, like that's not a happier topic. And like you hear Bronwyn saying like, let's go back to the other fight. Like Angie K like innocently thinking that like she was doing a good thing. Like, oh, let's talk about the reconnection of family, not knowing the drama that has been going on between like Lisa and Bronwyn and like Todd and Gwen, and like the drama surrounding like the backstory of that family. It was so funny to hear her try to think that she was doing something like so right, but it was so wrong. Because even when she said that, I was like, oh, she doesn't know what's going on. Like, it was too good. Like I said earlier, Todd is so over this whole trip. He shuts down the convo, and Bronwyn says like in her confessional that like she thought it would be the ladies that would embarrass her this trip, but it is Todd that is embarrassing her. And I want to know what you guys think about the dynamic between Todd and Bronwyn. I've seen a lot of people online really speculating that Bronwyn is on the show to kind of set herself up for success because she's potentially going to divorce Todd. Do I think that? No, I don't think that. But I mean, I can see how some people might think that, just kind of the way that they've been interacting with each other. It doesn't really seem like they're in the most stable place, but I mean, I'm not in the relationship, so who am I to say? But I want to know what you guys think about the dynamic between Todd and Bronwyn, because it really is kind of like it's like him, what he says goes. You know what I mean? And I don't know. That's just the way he's come off the past couple of episodes. So it's interesting to watch. There's a little bit more that happens, but really the next like big juicy thing that goes on is like the first class versus coach debate when they're all leaving Palm Springs to go back to Salt Lake City. Lisa, this has been like Lisa's episode with like the things that she has said that really have just been like funny to me. She hasn't flown coach since college, saying that, and John Barlow was like, well, what do you want to do? Stay longer and get home later so you can like fly first class? Now, if it was a 4 or 5 hour flight, I can see where Lisa's like concern about like comfortability may come in. It was a 45-minute flight from Palm Springs back to Salt Lake City, and she had a meltdown about it. Girl, it's okay. It's okay, girl. A lot of people fly coach. It's not a big deal. But John was like, I don't want to stay late and get home. Like, I don't want to stay longer and get home later. Like, no way. And he was like, just close your eyes and imagine that it's first class. And she was like, well, we could go to LA and then like whatever. But like also the thought to go from Palm Springs to LA, from LA to Salt Lake City, just so you can have a first class seat. Like, are you going to drive from Palm Springs to LA? Because there's already not a first class seat. I don't know. It was a lot. It was hilarious. Meredith has bathtubs. Lisa Barlow has first class. Whitney has Alibaba. I don't know where the hell Heather was this episode, but let me tell you, I really didn't even notice that she wasn't in the episode. And I hate to say that because I've said this before. I am trying to give Heather the benefit of the doubt because she really regained like my fandom last season. And she's kind of slipping for me with the way that she's been acting this season, but hopefully it comes back. Obviously, we got the mid-season trailer. There's still so much more to come this season. It's juicy. The girls are clocking in. They have not once clocked out yet this season. I feel like our girls over on RHONY need to kind of like take some notes because Salt Lake City is that girl right now. Salt Lake City and Potomac, they are those girls. So I'm excited for what's going to happen next week. It's going to be so good. And we're going to talk about it. All right, guys, there's a lot that kind of went down the last couple of days. Really, actually, the last week, okay? So when I recorded this podcast last week, I didn't get the chance to talk to you about some stuff that came out. So we're going to just cover a few topics that are like in the reality headlines, the Bravo headlines. Guys, first, you probably heard it already. Real Housewives of Dubai has been put on pause after 2 seasons. The ladies were told last week, and Us Weekly had reported that they are now on pause. Now, I will say this, a few things. I loved Real Housewives of Dubai season 2. I thought it was so good. There are still some ladies on that cast that I would love to see on reality television. Lisa Milan being one of them. Caroline Stanberry. I really did enjoy Talene. And hopefully there's kind of space for them in other places because I really would love to see more of them. People are talking about, obviously, Hayu announced that they're going to be doing The Real Housewives of London. Now, Hayu is like the streaming service in the UK for like Bravo shows. So they're going to be doing their actual first installment of The Real Housewives exclusively for Hayu. And people are saying, okay, well, let's take Caroline Stanberry and put her over there. I don't know, guys, like if she would actually uproot her whole life to go be on another reality show in London since she's been in Dubai for so long and she just built this house. I mean, will she do it? Maybe. But I don't know. I feel like if they're going to do Real Housewives of London, they're going to go with a fresh cast and not anyone that really is known, except for our girl Ekin-Su, who's been rumored to be up and running for a position on that, but Ekin-Su isn't from the Bravo universe. Now, you may remember Ekin-Su from Traitors, but she hasn't been on any of these types of reality shows. So I am sad that Dubai is not coming back. I mean, I really don't think it was like good for them to have gone on such a long break between the end of season 1 and the release of season 2. It felt like they were gone for way too long. And I don't know if I don't think the views were, like the ratings were there. But I still enjoyed it. I'm going to miss the ladies. Again, like, I love me some Lisa Milan, so hopefully we can see her in some aspect. Caroline, Talene, and I also like Sarah, but I don't know if she would actually go back to doing reality TV. But they're going to be missed. Along with being on pause is obviously Winter House, Family Karma, Summer House, Martha's Vineyard. So hopefully there is a place for some of these for some of these shows to come back in this space in the future. Who's to say? Now, another announcement that came last week, Friday morning, bright and early, 7 a.m. I log on to Instagram and JT from Southern Charm announces that he has resigned from the show ahead of the season 10 premiere. Now, he did post this on his Instagram that says, "It comes with a heavy heart to share that I have resigned from Southern Charm. Yesterday, meaning last Thursday, I informed Bravo that I will not be participating in the 2 to 3 remaining green screen room interviews before the season airs December 5th. I've done about 9 thus far leading up to today, and that I no longer wish to participate in any ways moving forward with the TV show. I will leave it at that for now while I work on next steps to recover both physically and mentally from what has been an extremely challenging and exhausting year." Now, I was very surprised by his announcement to leave Southern Charm. JT I mean, it was very well known that he liked being on the show, kind of just by the way that he was on the season. I mean, I saw him at BravoCon and he looked so excited to be there. I mean, who wouldn't be? The trailer dropped, and then there were kind of moments kind of being like, oh, he's probably not going to have the best season. He has this weird ass story thing with trying to date Vanita. Obviously, it's very known on social media that Madison doesn't fuck with him. Him and Austin got into it last season. I just feel like something happened this season where he feels like he is going to look so bad that he's trying to get out ahead of it and not have to answer for the way that he acted on TV. Am I wrong? I don't know. The season hasn't come out yet. It comes out on December 5th. So we'll just have to watch it together and talk about it as it goes on. But to announce your departure before the show even airs, saying you want nothing to do with the show, just a little sus, sir. What happened? What's the tea? I don't know. It was a little weird. So JT's out, season 10. So obviously there you go. We're probably gonna hopefully get another newbie for season 11 if they add anybody. I mean, there are a couple of newbies this season. We'll see how they are. Southern Charm I'm super excited for to return again. You guys know Southern Charm is one of my favorite shows on Bravo. So I'm looking forward to such a milestone season coming back. Other big news, guys, out of the Real Housewives of New York City, Erin and her husband Abe, who the hell's Abe? Erin and her husband Abe announced that they are expecting baby number 4. They did a People exclusive. She looks amazing, and she, I don't know how far along she is, but she's almost there. She's a couple months away, I believe, and they said that they are quote unquote adding another act to the circus. I love Erin and Abe, so I'm so happy for them. I'm happy for anyone who announces a pregnancy. Good for you for growing your family. But I'm super excited for them, and hopefully we get to see the baby on next season. Now, I will say this. While we're on the topic of New York City, I've been seeing a lot of people talk about how it's just not it. And let me tell you, I kind of have to agree. There are a few ladies that I do like. I love Erin. I like Sai. I'm obsessed with the newbie Raquel. But it seems a little off. It seems a little forced. I don't know how these women are IRL and when they're not filming. It kind of seems like a lot of them don't fuck with each other and they don't like each other. And they're bringing that to screen. And I don't think it's translating well. Now, I will say, a lot of talk after this past week's episode was that people were pissed off about the pregnancy prank. Now, I can understand why people would be mad about it, but I kind of want you to kind of see where I'm coming from, or I think this is why they did it. I think that Erin and Rebecca set up this prank to kind of take it to the women to see how fast it circulated amongst the women when they were told not to say anything, and to talk about how elaborate it got and see if anything was added that was not initially part of the prank. That's where I'm at. I don't think that they did it for a storyline. I think they are doing it to kind of prove the way that they move forward with kind of what the he said, she said is. You know what I mean? Am I right? I don't know. I hope that I hope that's what's going on, but we'll have to watch and see. Listen, I've got high hopes for RHONY. I really do. So we're just going to have to keep on watching and see what's going on with it. And hopefully it gets a little bit better. Right now, I'm still watching. Hey, you still got me as a viewer, so we'll go forward with that. In other news, in regards to babies, Candace Dillard Bassett and Chris have welcomed their first baby, a boy, Jet Maxwell Lee, and Candace says she already wants more. She announced this in a People exclusive that came out on Wednesday. The family looks gorgeous. So happy for Candace. She just seems so happy. Obviously, we all know she's wanted a baby for so long, and she's ready for more. Hey, listen, I love this family journey for her, and maybe we'll get more announcements from them coming soon. Now, guys, this is a big one that came out, and this just came out on Wednesday as well. Obviously, a couple of weeks ago, Teddi Mellencamp had announced on her Instagram that she was filing for divorce, and she had put out a statement that had read, "After a great deal of care and consideration, I have made the difficult decision to file for divorce. My priority is my children and ensuring that every care is taken with their privacy and well-being throughout this new chapter. Making a public statement is not something I wanted to do, but in effort to protect my family from undue speculation and rumors, I felt being open, honest, and vulnerable was the best path forward." Now, Teddi has since turned off comments on her Instagram, so she's not really letting anybody reply to that, which understandable. But yes, on Wednesday, this bomb dropped, a Daily Mail exclusive. Teddi Mellencamp's months-long affair with her married horse trainer Simon Schroeder led to the split with her husband, Edwin. Holy shit, right? Like, oh my God. So if you read the article, it does go to say, a source told DailyMail.com that the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills alum 43 and her German-born horse trainer Simon Schroeder had a months-long love affair behind their spouses' backs. Now, this is the kicker, guys. Making matters worse, the pair were together in Florida while Schroeder's pregnant wife, Carly, was giving birth to their second child in California. This man was in Florida with Teddi while his wife was giving birth in California. Holy fuck, right? Now, Carly thought it was suspicious that her husband was in Florida when she was giving birth, is what the source told Daily Mail. When her husband returned, she found text messages on his phone that exposed the affair, and she confronted both her husband and Teddi about it. And they had stated that it was going to stop. Well, it didn't. It stop indeed is what it did not do. Now, this is rich coming from Teddi. I mean, she is this self-proclaimed accountability coach. Now, it did say in the article that Teddi allegedly had filed for divorce prior to telling her husband about the affair, so he didn't catch her on the adultery situation. Now, this is all alleged, obviously, because it came from a source. We don't know who directly said this, but the amount of detail that they had was wild. And I will tell you guys this as well. I did get a DM about this a couple of weeks ago. On November 2nd at 2:48 p.m., I got a DM that said, Teddi is getting divorced because her husband just found out she has been having an affair with a guy who rides horses at the same stable. My source is someone else who goes there. The affair has been known amongst others at the stable for months. I mean, she has to address this, right? Like, there's no way she can go on 2 T's in a pod and not talk about the rumors. Will she deny them? Probably. Who's to say? But you better believe I'll be tuning into that episode of 2 T's in a pod. That was like the bomb that dropped that like popped everything off for the week. It was absolutely wild. And I literally cannot wait to see what she has to say about it. Guys, what a day. Now, the last piece of information that I want to talk about, I'm wearing my Send It to Daryl hoodie because I have questions about what's going on over on the Give Them Lala podcast. Jessica, who was a co-host on the Give Them Lala podcast, is no longer a part of the podcast, which is so strange because she abruptly exited. They didn't give any explanation as to why she is not returning. And Jessica went to her social media to say that she wasn't given the opportunity to say goodbye to the listeners. Something happened, and I need to know. I need to know what happened as to why Jessica is no longer on the podcast, because she was in Lala's pod. It was like Lala, her brother, her mother, Jessica. Like, that was her core group. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people in my comments are even, I might be wrong, actually, I don't know. A lot of people in my comments were saying that Jessica was even in the room when Lala's newest child, Sosa, was born, which is so strange for then only a couple weeks later for her to be completely out of their lives. Somebody has to know something. Slide in the DMs. I'll keep it anonymous. I just want to know, for my own sanity, as a listener of the Give Them Lala podcast, what the hell actually happened. Guys, that's what we got for you this week. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I want to remind you guys that, again, I am hosting Sonya in your city on Saturday, February 22nd in the Boston area. It is at the Somerville Theater. Me, Sonya, drinks, fun, questions, answers, story times, all of those things. You can go and get the tickets for that at the link over in my bio. So make sure that you guys come and visit. Also, I want to make sure that you guys are liking, subscribing, rating, all the things for the podcast. Send a link to your friend. Invite them to come over and join the party. And one last thing, I want to give a shout out to my girl Grace, who has produced my podcast for over the past year. She's been amazing. I love her so much, and she's no longer going to be producing this podcast. She's going to be doing something else within the company, but she has put up with a lot from me having to work around my crazy schedule. And she's just been a blast to work with. So guys, I hope you have the best weekend and week to come. And I will talk to you guys next week. Love ya.